Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Spanning the Need. Now, we're on tour in the Valley, and I hope you can catch us every Thursday night where we're going to do a different restaurant or place in the Valley. Tonight, we're at one of the famous places in downtown Youngstown, the MVR. I'm here with owner Joe Cassese and our good friend Wes Chandler. Guys, thanks for coming.
Great to be here there, Tom.
Well, and let's talk about this. The MVR has been here a long time. I mean, it's probably been here almost, I think, since 1927. Joe, talk a little bit about how the restaurant got started, because you're fourth generation Cassese to run this. So talk a little bit about that.
I think it's kind of a unique thing for all of us involved in the business, especially the family. But I think one of the great things about having a guy like Wes here, who's been a 40-year customer and a 30-year customer and friend and a 30-year bocce player, you're talking about a really unique atmosphere and opportunity for people to say that they've actually had generations of their family be involved. And that's what makes it so unique for us, is to be able to have people that were here and say, you know, my grandfather or my great-grandfather came in when your great-grandfather was sitting at the end of the bar. Mm-hmm. You know, and you talk about the history, the area that we're at right now, this area was, back behind us was actually my great-grandparents' house. So that
the old Smokey Hollow.
In the old Smokey Hollow, the neighborhood known as Smokey Hollow. They eventually knocked down the house, and they started, you know, what would become, you know, the bocce courts.
We talk about how Youngstown has a really stigma about restaurants, and yours is one of the rich history about that. I mean, you're looking, we got 4 bocce courts, we have a huge outdoor patio, and you're one of the most, either one of or the earliest liquor licenses in the whole entire Mahoning Valley.
Yeah, so in 1927 is when we opened up, and I mean, look, I guess it's safe to say that until we got our liquor license in 33, maybe we were a speakeasy. It was a long time ago, and I don't think
we don't know about that.
I don't think anyone's really coming after us at this point.
100 years, almost 100 years later.
I would hope not, but I think we have the oldest liquor license. I think we were issued the second or third in the state at the time.
Yeah, I was doing some research, and I think the bar in Toledo was open in the early 1800s.
Yeah,
late 1800s.
I would say it's hard to compete with that.
Yeah, hey, you got close. And I think one thing, you come here, it's family. You mentioned about family. And Wes, you've been here a long time as well. And you've known Joe for, I don't know, I won't age you.
Well, the guy was, not to say how old I am here, but the guy was 8 years old when I met him. I got hooked up with Carmen up in the equipment room at YSU and never
God
turned.
rest his soul, your father is a great guy.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Wish he was here with us now, but you know, it is amazing because you talk about the scenarios that we have when you're in a family business, and both of his daughters work for me, with us in events when they can.
Do they work for him too?
Well, on occasion they do, but I mean,
listen.
the great news is for me, not that he has any issues with them. They're known to listen a little better to me than their father, which is great. Which is great.
Because they got to hear it at home.
Right. Yeah.
And we look at the rich history, and let's reflect. You guys have been in the exact same location all these years.
Yeah.
And one thing that we really like is that you are the hub of this Smokey Hollow still. You got a park across the street, you got some old housing that's still here, and I think that's what reminisces, because years ago, people didn't come to downtown Youngstown. It was a very hard
Sure, there was some rough times in the 60s, the 70s, and a lot of crazy stuff that went on, and I think that's where you'll hear people say MVR club. Well, we were a club because you know, it was just the way that we had to run the business to make sure that we could, in the 60s, keep things the way we wanted to then. It was a tougher time, and, you know, thankfully for all of us involved, the evolution of our city, of our downtown, is what has guys like this, his family. Wes is playing bocce tonight with his family, with his wife. His kids may stop down for dinner. There are several community people that people would know that are involved in the community that are going to be doing that same thing tonight.
And I come down, I've been coming down since I was in college, so I'm not going to age myself, about 20-some years, but to get the point. Yeah. And your dad was always great to me. I mean, I knew your dad, Carmen, and Papa Cassese, and Mama, who we all loved to death. And one thing that really, how did getting Bocce started here? I mean, you guys were open for about 40, 50 years, and then in the late 70s, you guys actually created your first Bocce game or first tournament. Talk a little bit about how they changed from kind of all the food and then Bocce.
Well, Wes can speak to, being on the courts with my father.
Yeah, when I got down here, when I met Carmen in the late 80s, they just had 2 courts here, and they had just a men's league. I don't believe there was a mixed league at the time, obviously. No. And now Joe's grown it to 86 teams total. There's 56 mixed teams down here, and there's 30 men's teams now. So, I mean, it's 4 courts. And
we're at capacity, which is an awesome feeling. I mean, I have a waiting list, and we're 6 nights a week. It's, matter of fact, I had a gentleman call today. He's coming from Cleveland next Wednesday, and he called to say, hey, can I come in for dinner, and we want to play Bocce after? And I said, sir, the great news is you can come in for dinner. I said, the bad news is you can't get on the Bocce courts, and it's a problem, but it's a good problem.
Especially what we had just in the previous 16 months. We had the pandemic, and we know a lot of restaurants hurt, either closed, did a lot of takeout. How did you guys handle the pandemic? Let's talk, because each person did it differently, and I know you guys were open, and you had a lot of great support from the community.
The carry out.
Right. So Wes was probably here twice a week, as we're for carry out.
Just to get out of the house.
Got you out of the house.
Got me out of the house, and I stayed a little bit longer. Brought the food home, maybe not on time.
Yeah, if you get where he's going.
I rann into a few people, getting the carry out, and it kind of extended.
Right. Wife here?
Right. Yes. She knows. But the reality of the situation is Tony, I don't want to speak a lot about those times in terms of, because it's just like it's a frustrating, tough time. But what everyone has to understand in our business is we don't have.
I think that's what I want people to understand.
Right, and I know that, and my feelings about it. We're like, I want to talk, but I want to focus on where we're headed the right way because what had happened is that was a facade. This whole carryout phase, we did it. It helped keep some people employed, but the reality of the situation is it did not make for this business to survive. It would be like going into the Home Depot.
Right.
And you know what you could do? You could buy paint, but nothing else. So that it doesn't work trying to survive. Right. You know what I mean?
And so we look at that different type, and we know that now everyone's getting back open. Bocce, everyone's coming out now. And we look at that, you're just not a restaurant. You're a Bocce.
Right.
You're a Bocce hub,
and
you're not just a Bocce hub. You're a restaurant,
right.
So you have both of those things put together, and I think that's what's great about it.
Well, the other thing, Tony, is you talk about the outside. We got a little refresher there for Douglas. Talk about the outside. You
talk about his own service.
Well, actually, getting back to that, it took 33 years of Bocce. But I finally got my signature drink, the West Press.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
On the side note, what's in the West Press?
Talk about the West Press.
Let's talk about it. The West Press is a little Tito's.
Okay.
Just a little Tito's.
Just a little Tito's, or just a little. And splash of soda, add the 7-Up.
Okay.
And a slice of orange, get it down underneath, mix it up. It's a great summer drink.
Yeah.
And that's my go-to, especially during mixed Bocce.
Right.
And then I'll switch over. Tonight I have a double header.
Yeah.
So I have men's after mixed. So.
But and one thing about this restaurant, you just don't have the local community. You've had a slew of celebrities or just individuals that loved your dad, that loved coming here from out of town.
You see them all over coming in
give us that perspective on kind of how all that, like just people walking in like that, and how surprised or you're like, oh wow, you walked in, or they heard about you.
Well, I just think that we're so fortunate to be considered a staple in the community, somebody that's been here. So, and I think what happens when you are that, and you're lucky enough sometimes that person that might not be from here, that person that might be a celebrity, or that person that might be internet famous pops down, and it's neat to see them. I mean, I think it's neat for everyone. I think what's really neat is our area, we've had so much success from Youngstown, people with Youngstown ties, and I think what it really is it's not so much this celebrity from California, it's our own homegrown celebrities that have done so awesome for themselves, which is great, and then they come back and they want to come to the places that they grew up with.
They want home.
Right.
They want to come so they have a good home.
Tony, that's where we get lucky. That's where we get lucky and get these great people back into town. Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that you see a lot of is people that live in California, like you mentioned, or anywhere in the world, but they want to come back to a home-cooked meal because there's a lot of great places, including yours, that when they eat their meal, they're like, oh, this is just like Mama used to make it, and it brings them back to their childhood.
Well, I think that that's a great thing. I think you said it best when you say you try to give somebody a feeling of home when they come down here, and that's I think that says it best.
We get teams as far as New York and Canada that come in regularly for these tournaments.
For our tournaments that we have in Bocce.
They don't
We'll talk a
miss
little bit about that here shortly.
Yeah.
And we look at it as you have 4 courts. I've had charity events here. We've done bocce tournaments here.
Yeah.
And people love it because it's outdoors, number one. Number two, they can enjoy something that you may not be good at, me, or some people that are so experienced, like Joe. And then there's Wes, so I don't know who would win between you two. I won't go there.
Wes.
No.
Give him enough couple of these, and then maybe he'll. Maybe I'll win.
Maybe you'll be winning when we're a little bit deep. So
and we just look at that as just and I think what people really we keep talking back and going back to family.
Yeah.
Your family has ran this, and that's how you treat people when you come here. Part of family.
Yes.
You're a guest, someone that's brand new. I remember I came here when I was brand new. Well, I worked at the university, and I didn't know your dad worked here, and he open arms.
Yeah.
And how does that feel when you treat everyone the same? And that's what's great about it.
Well, Tony, for someone like me, this isn't just my job, but my livelihood. And if I don't treat people right when they come here, how could I ever expect them to come back? And so Wes runs the Bocce League, and he lives by that philosophy too. I mean, we're working together, and if we're not treating people right, then we can't expect them to come back and be a part of it. And so, it's just something we learned early that, we want you to be here, we want you to be a part of it, but the most importantly is we're not a pass-through area.
Right.
There's not 10 hotels up the street, and they're not going on to the next town. This is our town. Chances are, if you eat here, there's a good chance I might be able to get you to come back and eat again soon. And so that's the key to this business.
Well, and I think you talk about we're not a see-through or a through, and you've talked about New York and California. Well, let's talk about that bocce tournament that you guys have. It's just not a bocce league. You guys have a humongous tournament. You have a couple during the year. Yeah. Talk a little bit about those tournaments and how it really does. I mean, you've had it, depending what tournament you have. Talk a little about those tournaments and how really those came about.
So we always had an annual bocce tournament. Loss of my father going on, unfortunately, 9 years ago, approaching.
That long?
Yeah, it's 8, but it'll be his 9th annual tournament. So it's 8 years, right. But it'll be his 9th annual tournament. We morphed our annual tournament to the Owner-Cassese Memorial Bocce Tournament. We opened it up to 64 teams. As Wes said earlier, they come from Canada, New York, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Connecticut. We've had 2 from Florida. It's just an amazing weekend for us. And really what it does is it raises a ton of money for my father's foundation, the Armstrong Foundation. It goes to pancreatic cancer research. All the funds, 100% of the funds are donated, 50% to cancer research and 50% to my father's scholarship at Youngstown State. There's a minimum 2 students a year that are impacted by the generosity of this community for the scholarship.
And we do a lot of different. You do a lot of different stuff that day. You have buffets. You have a lot of different stuff going on.
Yeah, we have entertainment on Saturday night. It's just a great weekend overall. It starts on Thursday and goes all the way to Sunday night.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, how much have you guys raised during either, like maybe last couple of years ago? Did you have it last year?
So we were able to have the tournament last year because fortunately we were outside. A lot of the fanfare wasn't involved, but Tony, on average, we're bringing in $10 to $15 to $20,000 every event that we have, and we're able to disperse it, so it's really good.
You look at the scholarship.
Yeah.
You guys have raised tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Sure. And
it keeps going up. How does it feel when you give that money to research into scholarships? How does that feel?
Tony, I'll say the same thing that I do every year. You doing this, Wes's generosity being involved. None of it happens without the community. None of it, from start to finish. So
The volunteers,
right,
people involved, everybody,
Joe Mayfield, Dave Hinkle, Darren Landis, and the hundreds of others that are always here, that are always putting in the time that Wes does, and none of it works. None of it works unless those people are able to do what they do. So really, what it is for me is there's a huge sense of pride, and that's the greatest part about it. We do all this, we love it. We're gonna have a great time tonight.
Right.
We've got a graduation party going inside. We've got a great night of business. We're happy people are outside. Wes is about to go play bocce, and then I'm gonna join him for a second round of bocce.
Yeah.
There's not much more I can ask for on a Thursday night. And then to think that in honor of my dad and my family, we're able to run that event. And while we run that event, we're able to look at the situation and say, my gosh, we're also donating and being able to fund scholarships in cancer research. It's awesome. That part's really awesome.
We look at just the impact you guys have made and the expansion. We talked a little bit about how you kind of went from one bocce court to two and then two more, and you kind of really have expanded because you get that community support. And what's it like for some of the food that we have here? We talk about what are some of the big dishes that we look at.
What's your favorite, Wes?
Wow. I mean, you could go on and on.
We talked a little bit about it's not just the food and bocce. It's not
the black and white fish on Fridays. You got the Trestle Tortellini, my daughter's favorites. You got the pizza that I just had last night. Came down again. I mean, you got so much to pick from down here. It's unbelievable. So bocce teams come in. They order before they play, after they play. In the middle of it. I mean, it's a great.
I think that.
Yeah.
I think what's
Speaking
great
of
is
bocce,
Tony.
I'm going to go check my team out, make sure, and I'll be right back.
Hey, go do what you go do.
I got to get the starting lineup.
Get the starting lineup in, all right?
Get yelled at.
Yeah,
I'll get yelled at real quick.
Yeah, go get yelled at, Wes.
I'll be right back.
So I mean, Tony, and I think that you kind of said it, like everybody has their favorite,
Right.
Which is awesome.
Right.
And some people, I love talking to people because some people come up to me and say, every time I come, and I come a lot, I order the same thing. And my first thing to that person is order something else.
You'll never get me. I'll only order two things.
Yeah.
And so will my wife.
But those are your go-to, and that's okay.
You called it so just so you're aware, I get two things. I get the MVR chicken salad, which he calls it the Spano chicken salad, and I get the chicken parm, which is pretty much the only two that I've ever probably gotten. My wife has a little bit more palate than I do. So it looks a little bit different on how we do that.
Well, do me a favor and take her home something different once in a while.
Well, I can't.
Okay.
She runs the house.
All right, fair enough.
So you're not just famous for your bocce, you're also famous for some food. So now this stuff looks really good. So let's
I'll give you the rundown on 3 of our best sellers. All right.
okay, what do you got here?
Okay, this is just a 12-inch pepperoni pizza.
Okay, so this is just pepperoni?
Pepperoni pizza.
Okay.
Pepperoni and cheese we sell. So right now we're open from 4 p.m. on.
Okay.
But we don't have, when we are open during the day, except for Saturdays. The only day we offer pizza is Saturday during the day.
Okay.
But 4 p.m. on for pizza.
Okay.
Right here in front of you, I know you're going to take this home. This is our Trestle Tortellini.
Okay.
3 cheese tortellini with a creamy marinara basil sauce. One of our number 1 best sellers, named after a great guy.
I have to ask this, what's the backstory to this?
So-
Because I think I always get asked the question, like when I was at the MVR, well, do you know how they got the name? And I tried doing some research, and what's the real story?
We keep it close to the sweater
just
vest.
Tell me
we keep
sweater
it,
vest.
No, we keep it close to the sweater vest. But all you need to know is that that was early on Jim Trestle approved, and you got the TT, you got the Trestle Tortellini. It just was a no-brainer. It worked out perfect.
I'll be honest, I've never had it.
Come on, Tony,
So
you're killing
I've
it.
never had it, so. Oh, that's sauce.
Yeah,
What's
see,
in the sauce?
We'll talk about it.
Oh, come on.
Creamy marinara, highlighted by fresh basil. It works for you. Okay.
So what do we have over here?
Last year is our this is our spicy bow tie pasta with blackened chicken.
Okay.
This is a fan favorite. Obviously, It's got a lot of hot peppers.
Okay.
So you better be ready to sweat a little bit if you're gonna take this meal on. But again, 2 of our top selling pastas. spicy bow tie, another signature dish here. A lot of people go with the blackened chicken or grilled chicken on top. Any way you slice it. Some people like to do, especially in the fall during Lent and into the winter, put a little black and white fish on top.
Okay.
But really, this is another great seller, so you can't go wrong.
Is there peppers in there?
Just a little bit of hot pepper.
I see
it,
I
just
see
a
some
little
pepper.
bit. Yeah.
So,
that's why I said you better be ready to sweat a little bit.
I'm not a peppers guy, but I like I'm okay with mild pepper. Like I can't. Me and we don't. But,
Wow.
but these are some of your 3 popular dishes that you have.
You can't go wrong coming down here, getting any one of these 3, and they're fan favorites. They work out great.
Well, and you can do. And I mean, these just literally came out. I mean, they're gorgeous food. I mean, just in general. I mean, I sit here, I'm like, I'm going to dive into all this.
Well, so what I always tell people is this, Tony. You have people that like their favorites. You said you had not had that before. You have your favorite. We talked about that. One get this, one get that. Extra plate, share, pizza, take a slice, take one home. Everybody's happy.
And you can.
And the kids have food for the next couple of days.
And you can get all this to go too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But we'd rather see your smiling face.
Well, you don't want to see. You don't want to see my.
All right, we'll send down your better half.
Yeah, I'll send.
Okay.
My wife will come down.
Yeah.
But Joe, this is great.
Yeah.
You want to come down? This is the food to get. We look at a couple things. Let me scoot over.
Yeah.
Because I want to get talking to this. So we look at 2 things. As we wrap up, what looks like the future of the MVR?
Well, I think that this goes back to what I talked about earlier. The community is the future. You see it, you hear it. They're so supportive. I have a waiting list for our summer bocce league. If we could continue to provide great bocce, a great atmosphere, and have people come down here, then that's our future. Our future is the Mahoning Valley, the Tri-County area, the outliers of the areas. That's our future. Our future is your children. I know that you're due soon.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Well,
So
no, we'll be due around. We're due about a day or so.
Right.
Well, my wife will kill me.
Right. So it could be any day. It could be 2 weeks.
any day
but
now.
the bottom line is God willing, Tony.
Right.
In a couple months from now, a year from now, you're going to be carrying a baby carrier with a baby in there, and that baby is eventually going to have what I love to call the first MVR meatball, and then it goes from there. And Tony, it doesn't work unless the community continues to do that, and we continue to try to come through for the community. Yeah. So that's where it's at, and that's really what excites me about the future of bocce, of being out here, of having a great night.
Well, let's we talk about a lot about yourself, and maybe people know you, maybe they don't. Everyone has at least maybe heard. Hope you've heard the MVR, but if not, come on down. At the end of each, we kind of like to wrap up some stuff.
Sure.
I like to have some fun with my guests.
Fine.
Okay,
Tony, I'm ready for fun fun with Spano.
Oh God, that's the first time you've ever called me Spano in about. What do you normally call me?
You're the Span Dog.
Yeah, see, haven't called.
Span Dog.
So any question any answer can be professional or personal. Your call. Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer.
All right.
What's your best accomplishment?
I don't know if I have one. I said I would have to say that, marrying a great wife and having 2 great kids on a serious level and on a fun level is just having a wife that is cool enough to not yell at me when I go play bocce once a week or twice.
Okay. What's your best memory?
It's the simple things. When you're fortunate or to be involved in something like this, and also to have spent a lot of time working with your family. Everyone talks about this or that, but you worked every day with my father. He's not here. If there's any advice I could give to anyone, is it's the little things. Don't ever not take a minute to have a cold beer with your mom or dad, a glass of wine, sit down, because someday that might not happen, and you'll think and say, man, gosh, I'd like to have a beer with my dad right now.
Yeah, don't miss those moments.
Yeah.
What's your best experience?
I've been so fortunate, but I have had a great run resume-wise in my life, being involved in Youngstown State Athletics as an equipment manager, working in the NFL, coming back home. It's all kind of led. So it's like that. It's always kind of led to where I'm at now in life. Yeah. And I'd say the lead up to where I'm at was that whole experience was really awesome. Still able to go work 4 or 5 Browns games a year. I mean, it's just such a neat thing.
Especially when they're winning. I mean, we're look good.
Used to
season.
seeing the losses, so it's cool to see the wins.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we'll still stick with our Browns.
Yeah.
What about we talked about who's your role model?
You know, there's so many people in this town that do such a good job, but when you look around, you look at the works of some of my mentors and people that I learned a lot from. I've learned a lot from Jim Trestle, his involvement. It's great to have a guy like that, a phone call away, 100 yards away.
Probably hit him with a baseball.
Absolutely, or if not that, a golf ball if you can't hit it that far. Yeah,
golf ball.
Right. But I just think we're so lucky in this town to have somebody like that. It's not just about being able to pick up a phone, but sometimes you see the work that he's doing for us, and you say, even if you don't know Jim Trestle, you know that he's helping build buildings in Youngstown. He's helping beautify our campus. He's helping doing things like that on the campus. And I think it makes a big difference when you look at someone like that and you're like, man, there's some really cool things going on here.
Okay. So my last question: if there was one person you'd want to meet, past or present, who would it be and why?
Come on now, Tony. These are like one of those. You're beating me up with this stuff.
Well, because people want to hear this. You don't have to.
Who would I want to meet and why?
Past or present.
All right.
It could be, like I said, it could be anyone.
Just, you know what would be really cool? A night out with Frank Sinatra. Smoke a cigar, have a glass of wine, a night out.
And, well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, Tony. Glad Wes was able to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for being down here.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Spanning the Need. If you want to see more podcasts or announcements, please go to anthonyvspano.com. Everyone, have a good night. Joe, where are you located? Where's the MVR located?
410 North Walnut Street, Youngstown, Ohio.
Downtown Youngstown, next to YSU.